Some members of parliament are fondly referred to in Africa as MPigs because of the way that they conduct themselves in order to profit themselves at the expense of the taxpayer. And today I am not in any way going to talk about them, but I'm going to pick up one story or one facet that causes them to be called MPigs, and it is a facet called benchmarking. In other words, these guys come together and they craft something of an excuse to go abroad in another country, to visit another country, to quote-unquote benchmark and see what the other country is doing in relation to something else so that they can come back to the country and implement it. Invariably, it never happens. But in the podcast today, we are talking about how you can pit yourself against someone else and then you improve as such. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Life Signatures podcast with Lawrence Namale. Lawrence is a life coach, author, and keynote speaker who loves to tackle different topics on purpose, productivity, and resilience. His mission in life is to awaken all your boundless possibilities available in you. Life Signatures podcast is dedicated to bring to reality every single person who knows that deep down in their gut, there's got to be more to life than this. And now, here is your host, Lawrence Namale.
Now, to be fair to the MPs, this benchmarking business is a good thing, and I think we've done it ourselves even as we're growing up, informally and also formally. Sometimes you go to your cousin's house and you see how big their TV is, and maybe their father has bought them a bike, and you go back and you hustle your parents until you also get your own bike one way or another. You've done it informally, and maybe when we are in school, we go to another school and see how busy those guys are and how they're doing their studies, how they're carrying themselves, and then we come back to our own school and we try to do some changes. At the end of the day, friends, it matters more when we connect with other human beings, especially those ones who are doing much better than us. Not because we are so hell-bent on being the best and so on, but because at the end of the day it also improves us one way or another when we pit ourselves against someone who is doing much better, or someone who is actually a titan in the industry or in the niche in which we are. This podcast is about productivity, it is about purpose, and it is about resilience. And when it comes to productivity, at times you will improve your productivity if you know that there's someone who is doing some things greater and better than what you're doing. It is always going to be a good thing to have someone better than you in your company. In fact, the more of such guys you have in your company, the better you become. If you look around and the guys that are surrounding you are the guys that are looking up to you, like I told you in one episode, you fire those people. I mean, you're not going to grow by people always looking up to you. And there is a place for that. If those are the only people in your life, then that life is in danger. What we need to do is to make sure that we're surrounding ourselves with also those guys who are doing things, the movers and shakers of our industries, the guys who we look up to, not the guys who are always looking up to us. The circle has to be completed that way. Why is it that way? It is that way because there are some people who know things that we don't. There are some people who are better in what they are doing and what we are doing than we are. There are some people who are genuinely titans and refined themselves, and they have experience better than we do. And one of the biggest catalyst of my growth and my development is to make sure that I am in the face of someone who is doing much better than I am on an occasional basis, on whatever niche it is. If I am a speaker, for example, I'm a public speaker and I inspire people and so on and so forth, it is good for me to make sure that I am always in the vicinity or looking up to someone who is doing the same thing, maybe on a global scale, on a bigger scale, someone maybe who is being paid $20,000 per speech, and I am being paid for nothing. I'm being paid, my pay is called exposure. Lawrence, come and speak to us. You're going to gain exposure. You're also going to gain experience. You never know who's going to be in the congregation who will listen to you, and you never know. Just come and speak to us. So if I am in that level, and there's another guy who, you put $20,000 on the table first before you can say, guess what, I have deposited this money and we needed you to come and speak. Do you have some time? We are going to rearrange our schedules to fit your time. So I pit myself against that kind of a person and I see what they are doing. If it's a Vusi Tembekwayo, for example, in South Africa, I see what this man is doing. What is he good at? What is happening for him? What is it that is making him to be top notch? What is it that is making him to be on the cutting edge? And I start implementing those ideas slowly by slowly, and before long I am growing and I am improving. That is the ultimate catalyst of my growth and my development. And we've said that there are several advantages that are going to accrue when we pit ourselves against a Goliath in our industry. The first advantage we talked about is that you are going to get feedback. And feedback, we said, is the breakfast for champions. If you're just doing your own local arrangement, you're running your own race in obscurity. The thing is that you will not know where you're going wrong. You'll not know where you're going right. You'll not know whether you're on the cutting edge, whether you are top notch or not. But when you do that, when you pit yourself against a titan, a giant in your industry, that's why it's important for us, if you're a speaker, to go and listen to another speaker, do a 360 degree turn, a 180 degree turn, and sit in the audience. If you're a doctor, be a patient. I'm telling you, I kid you not, and be a nurse somewhere, so that you can see how your audience is feeling in the vicinity of a titan. And now you can go back, having gotten the feedback, to improve. You know where to improve. The second benefit you're going to get, obviously, is that you're going to grow. In other words, you're going to get some motivation, you're going to get some urgency, you're going to get some energy, you're going to get some new focus, because you realize where you are now. You realize that you're not as good as you thought you are. You realize that there's several areas of growth that are needed or that are available for you. That is the second advantage. The third advantage you're going to get is that you're going to be stretched. When you are pitting yourself against a Kipchoge Keino, for example, in terms of running a marathon, you realize that this man is doing 10 kilometers in less than 30 minutes, and for you're doing 10 kilometers in 2 hours. Now you get stretched because you're pitting yourself against the very best in the industry, the very best in the niche, and there is no way you're going to expand your potential and become better if you will not stretch. We say that a rubber band in all its uses can never be useful if it is not stretched. And today, in the podcast, we're going to talk about one simple thing, one advantage that you can be able to use, and this is going to go against the traditional plagiarism, the traditional copying and pasting. Yesterday I saw something very funny on Facebook. A friend of mine posted a meme. He created a meme, his own creation, about don't feel happy, don't think guys who are happy are rich. Right now someone has asked me for 20k and I'm just feeling like crying, and someone else went and copied the whole thing verbatim. The only thing that he changed was he put 5k instead of 20k, and he posted it out there as if he's the one who created it, and he did not even give credit to where credit was supposed to be due. And now this friend of mine who originally created the original thing got wind of what was happening. He went and cut it and pasted it and put it back on his own wall, shaming the guy who had plagiarized and stolen the creativity. See, one of the things that we're going to get when we pit ourselves against a titan or a Goliath in our industry is that we're going to get a benchmark. We're not going to copy and paste them. We're not going to plagiarize them, but we're going to get a benchmark. See, I heard something very interesting from Miles Monroe. He said that people think I'm very sharp. People think I have all these ideas. But what I normally do is that I read, I study as much as I can. But what I do is that I customize what I have studied from some other people, and it seems like it's me, because the only thing that I add is my pinch, my own context. I add my own language, I add my own passion, I add my own stories, I add my own experience, but the information, the pedigree, the principles, the concepts, they are not mine. I borrowed from somebody else. That is what you get when you pit yourself against a mighty titan. And by the way, very many things I've spoken on this podcast, they are not mine. All these concepts, they are not mine. There is a Miles Monroe in there. There's a Mike Murdoch in there. There's a Jack Swindle in there. There's an Apostle Paul in there. There is a Jesus Christ in there. I mean, there are very many people. There's an Einstein there. There's a Lincoln in there. I am pitting myself against these guys, and I am benchmarking them. I'm benchmarking myself against them. There is a Helen Keller in my speeches. You will not notice. You will feel inspired, but you will not notice that there is a pinch of Helen Keller in there. Why? Because I have decided that I'm not going to run a solo race. I am going to join a race where it's being run by this multi-billionaire. I mean, these guys who are movers and shakers in my own industry, and I'm benchmarking myself against them. See, in athletics, it's very important to have these guys called pacemakers. And the other day we saw this man called Eliud Kipchoge. What Eliud Kipchoge did is that he ran sub 2 hour marathon. He ran a marathon, a full marathon of 40 plus kilometers under 2 hours. No human being since Adam recorded has ever done that. But do you know the secret to how Eliud Kipchoge did this? The biggest secret is that he used pacemakers. And by the way, it was teams upon teams of pacemakers. I mean, these pacemakers will be joining at a particular distance, and they will be forming a particular pattern, and they will be pushing this man. He will be basically chasing after them. Once these pacemakers are tired, a new fresh team comes in, and Eliud Kipchoge was able to break the record of running a marathon under 2 hours because he benchmarked himself. I mean, guys were pacemaking for him. Oddly, these guys are not in the race to win. Very interesting. I mean, they are not there to win, but to help the titans to win. They are there to help. See, when I am joining the race with the titan, it is not the titan is already there. I mean, he's already won and he's already having a name. I am joining that race so that I can win. Now, when you pit yourself against the best, you have a benchmark through which your work can be able to grow. You have a benchmark through which you personally can be able to grow. For example, when I am following the works of Darren Hardy. Darren Hardy is an author of a very powerful book that I'll recommend for you to read. It's called The Compound Effect. People normally tell me, oh, Lawrence, you are a very consistent guy. I've never met a consistent guy. Do you know where I get that consistency from? It comes from Darren Hardy and his book, The Compound Effect. If I hadn't benchmarked myself against Darren Hardy, probably I would not be hearing these things coming to me, these accolades of Mr. Consistency and so on and so forth. See, you have to have a pacemaker, someone who is better than you in your life, in the niche that you are doing. If you're passionate about playing the keyboard or playing the guitar or singing, who is it that you're benchmarking yourself? Who is your pacemaker in your life? See, I am pitting myself against these people that I've told you. I'm pitting myself against Michael Hyatt when it comes to blogging. I'm pitting myself against this man called John Lee Dumas when it comes to podcasting. I'm pitting myself against this man called Tony Robbins when it comes to coaching. I'm pitting myself against this man called Les Brown when it comes to speaking. There's got to be someone better than me that I look up to, someone that I mean, when I benchmark myself against them, I'm thinking like, man, it's going to take me 20 years to be like them. But at least I'm in the race and I'm motivated by them. That is the advantage you're going to get when you pit yourself against a titan. You see, when you're doing your own thing, there is no outside experience. There is no reference point that you can refer to that is outside, that is spicing up your race. You're just doing your own thing. If you veer off the target, you wouldn't even notice. You wouldn't even know. But when you benchmark yourself, your path is always going to be led straight onto your own personal best, onto your own record. When you're going to do your own thing, there is no reference point. But when you benchmark yourself, there is a firm, strong, authentic reference point that motivates you to reach out so that you can become your very best. So I encourage you today, whatever it is that you're passionate about, find someone in the same area who is also passionate about it and do what they do and try to equate yourself to them. Change yourself and make them the benchmark. Well, until tomorrow, where we'll discuss something else. Bye-bye. A special shout out to my mentor, Jeffrey Howard of Visionary Business University, found at mastermindmentor.com, who has graciously provided me with the soundtrack and the introductory track to this podcast. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you for listening to Life Signatures Radio. If you enjoyed today's show, subscribe to Life Signatures Radio on iTunes, Stitcher, or visit our website at lifesignatures.libsyn.com. Life Signatures Radio, fresh, clean, and inspiring.